The early 20th century, a period marked by rapid change and unprecedented growth, a time of great empires, technological innovation and simmering global tensions. The world was transforming at an astonishing pace, with new inventions and ideas reshaping daily life. Europe, a patchwork of powerful nations, bristled with ambition and suspicion. Each country was eager to expand its influence and secure its place on the global stage. Ancient rivalries festered between countries, with old grudges and new ambitions intertwining. Leaders eyed each other warily, aware that any move could provoke a reaction. A sense of unease permeated the air, a premonition of the storm to come. People could feel the tension in their daily lives, as news of political maneuvers and military preparations filled the headlines. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, would provide the spark. This single event set off a chain reaction that would engulf the entire continent. Imagine a continent armed to the teeth, each nation eyeing the other with a mixture of fear and bravado. The military might on display was both a deterrent and a provocation. The great powers of Europe, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, Great Britain and France engaged in a dangerous game of military build-up, each trying to outmaneuver the other. Alliances were formed and broken as nations jockeyed for position. This arms race, fueled by nationalism and imperial ambitions, created an atmosphere ripe for conflict. Factories churned out weapons at an unprecedented rate, and the public was swept up in a wave of patriotic fervour. Any misstep, any miscalculation could tip the balance and plunge the world into chaos. Diplomats worked tirelessly to maintain peace, but the underlying tensions were too great to be easily resolved. Sarajevo, Bosnia, 28 June 1914. A seemingly ordinary day erupted in violence. Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, were assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a young Serbian nationalist. This act of terror sent shockwaves across Europe. The assassination was more than a personal tragedy, it was a political earthquake. Austria-Hungary, outraged and seeking revenge, issued an ultimatum to Serbia, a small nation with close ties to Russia. The ultimatum's demands were deliberately harsh, designed to be rejected. Serbia, backed by a powerful Russia, refused to comply fully. The die was cast. The gears of war, already greased by years of tension and mistrust, began to grind inexorably towards conflict. Europe in the early 20th century was a web of alliances, each promising support in case of attack. These treaties, meant to deter aggression, instead acted as a tripwire. When Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914, it triggered a chain reaction. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, mobilized its army. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, viewed this as a threat and declared war on Russia. France, bound by its own agreement with Russia, was drawn into the conflict. Germany, seeking a swift victory, enacted the Schlieffen Plan, a military strategy that involved invading neutral Belgium to outflank French defences. This act violated Belgian neutrality, prompting Great Britain, the guarantor of Belgium's independence, to declare war on Germany. After 4 long years of brutal trench warfare, unprecedented bloodshed and unimaginable suffering, World War I finally ended in 1918. The Allied powers emerged victorious, but at a tremendous cost. Millions lay dead, empires crumbled, and the landscape of Europe was forever changed. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war but sowed the seeds for future conflict. The treaty, particularly its harsh terms imposed on Germany, was met with resentment and anger. Germany was forced to accept blame for the war, cede territories, disarm its military, and pay crippling reparations. This humiliation and economic hardship created fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root and flourish. Section 5. Seeds of Discontent, the Aftermath of War. The aftermath of World War I left Europe politically and economically unstable. The old order had been shattered and new ideologies, fueled by resentment and economic hardship, emerged from the ashes. Germany, burdened by reparations and struggling with hyperinflation, became increasingly susceptible to extremist movements. The global Great Depression of the 1930s exacerbated these problems, plunging the world into economic turmoil. The social and economic anxieties of the time created a climate of fear and uncertainty, making people more receptive to radical solutions. It was in this environment of despair and disillusionment that Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party rose to prominence. Section 6. The rise of a dictator. Adolf Hitler, a charismatic and ruthless demagogue, exploited the widespread anger and resentment in post-war Germany. The Treaty of Versailles had left the nation humiliated and economically crippled, creating fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root. Hitler, with his fiery oratory skills and promises of a better future, quickly became a beacon of hope for many disillusioned Germans. He offered simple solutions to complex problems, blaming Jews, communists and other scapegoats for Germany's woes. His propaganda machine worked tirelessly to spread these messages, creating an enemy for the people to rally against and uniting them under a common cause. His message of national revival and expansion resonated with a population desperate for stability and a return to greatness. The promise of jobs, national pride, and a restored Germany was too enticing to ignore, and many were willing to overlook his more extreme views in exchange for the hope he offered. The Nazi Party, once a fringe group, quickly gained popularity. Their rallies grew larger, their propaganda more pervasive, and their influence more profound. The party's disciplined organization and clear messaging attracted a wide array of supporters from various social classes. Hitler's promises of restoring German pride and power, coupled with his virulent anti-Semitism and nationalist rhetoric, struck a chord with many Germans. His ability to tap into the deep-seated fears and aspirations of the populace made him an unstoppable force in German politics. By 1933, the Nazis had become the largest party in the Reichstag, and Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. This marked the beginning of a new and terrifying chapter in German history, as the mechanisms of democracy were used to dismantle the very freedoms they were meant to protect. Once in power, he moved swiftly to consolidate his control, transforming Germany into a totalitarian state, crushing dissent and rearming the country in defiance of the Treaty of Versailles. The rapid militarization and the suppression of opposition were clear signals of the dark times ahead as the world watched in apprehension. Section 7. A continent erupts. The invasion of Poland. Emboldened by his early successes and driven by his expansionist ambitions, Hitler set his sights on conquering Eastern Europe. He believed Germany needed Lebensraum, or living space, at the expense of other nations. The invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939, marked the beginning of World War II. Hitler's Blitzkrieg, or lightning war strategy, utilizing fast-moving tanks and overwhelming air power, took Poland by surprise. The Polish army, though valiant, was no match for the German war machine. France and Great Britain, honoring their commitments to Poland, declared war on Germany on September 3, 1939. World War II had begun. Section 8. Echoes of War. Comparing the conflicts. While separated by a mere 2 decades, World War I and World War II were distinct conflicts with different causes and consequences. However, they were also interconnected, with the unresolved issues of the First War contributing to the outbreak of the Second. Both wars were products of a complex interplay of factors, including nationalism, imperialism, militarism, and the failure of diplomacy. The Treaty of Versailles, while intended to prevent future wars, ultimately contributed to the rise of Nazi Germany and the outbreak of World War II. The treaty's harsh treatment of Germany created resentment and instability, paving the way for Hitler's rise to power. Section 9. The enduring legacy of global conflict. World War I and World War II were watershed moments in human history, leaving an indelible mark on the world. These conflicts were not just battles fought on distant fields, they were cataclysmic events that touched every corner of the globe, altering the course of nations and the lives of millions. They resulted in an estimated 85 million to over 100 million fatalities, reshaped the geopolitical landscape and led to profound social, technological and political changes. The sheer scale of destruction and loss of life was unprecedented, forcing humanity to confront the brutal realities of modern warfare. The wars ushered in an era of international cooperation with the formation of the United Nations, dedicated to preventing future conflicts. This new global institution aimed to foster dialogue and resolve disputes through peaceful means, a stark contrast to the violent confrontations that had defined the early 20th century. The lessons learned from these devastating conflicts continue to resonate today, reminding us of the importance of diplomacy, the fragility of peace, and the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and intolerance. Memorials and commemorations serve as poignant reminders of the sacrifices made and the enduring need for vigilance. The wars serve as a stark warning against the dangers of nationalism, militarism, and the dehumanization of others. They highlight how easily societies can be led astray by divisive ideologies and the catastrophic outcomes that can result from such paths. They remind us that peace is not merely the absence of war, but a constant endeavor that requires vigilance, understanding, and a commitment to dialogue and cooperation. The pursuit of peace is an ongoing journey, demanding continuous effort and the collective will of the global community to prevent history from repeating itself.